Welcome to Tales from the Flipside, catching in another episode of Deal or Flipside. All right, before we do the intros, let's do our quick intro. Alrighty, so we have 4 people with us today. We have Chris Colbert. How's it going?
Going well, going well. It's Chris Colbert, Colbert's Comics on eBay. Living the dream, guys.
And we have a returning guest that we haven't seen in a while. How's it going, James?
Oh, it's going great, man. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, I think you were like on one of our first early iterations of Deal or Flipside. So, yeah.
First time you sported the tie.
Oh, yeah. First time supporting tie, right? And then, Joe, how's it going? I heard you had a decent time on Whatnot last night.
When it wasn't getting logged off, man. Well, it's all good. You guys can catch me at Red Hood Comic on IG. Glad to be back. Feels like I've been gone for a couple of weeks, but let's get it rolling, man. Let's see what books you got for us today, man.
Yeah, so I was telling Chris before the show, I was like, oh man, he said he could make it, and I was like super happy, and I was like, every book I have chosen, I think is the lowest price is like $1,000.
Nice, definitely in my wheelhouse. So.
Yeah. All right, so big shout out to Frank Gogol for making this graphic for me. I hope he continues writing. So we'll see what happens. All right. But let's go ahead and explain the rules real quick. So everyone on the panel has signs. Since we're low on the panelists today, I will also be participating. So you can hold up your sign for Flipside, which is going to be red, or the Modern Playbook, which is blue. All right. Let's go ahead and get into our first set of books. And then, all right. So some of these are from Sampson and My Comic Journey, as you may have seen him on Tales from the Flipside, and he's a big part of the community, and he threw out some ideas to me, and I was like, man, these are some pretty good ones. I was like, I'm going to use them. He's like, which ones are you going to use? I was like, all of them. So, all right. So this is from Sampson. He has the Eternals #1 CGC 9.8, which sold for $2,400, versus a special Marvel edition #15 CGC 9.4 that sold for $2,450. All right. So on the count of 3, hold up your signs. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Let's go with Chris and James.
Right.
And I will put the question to the audience.
Age before beauty. Go ahead.
I think I might be both on that front. So, I'm as excited as I am for Shang-Chi, and trust me, I'm really excited. I feel like the Eternals has a little more time to marinate and maybe has more upside because of that. However, there's definitely some bigger names in the Eternals that maybe have less than a stellar track history on certain films. So I don't know. I could end up regretting that decision, but I in all reality, I feel like Eternals potentially has more upside, where Shang-Chi might just be peaking right now and might not have any more room to go.
Okay, so my logic in picking Shang-Chi over the Eternals, or at least the Eternals 1. Eternals 1, let's be real about it, is not really the book. The book, actually, I'd say is Eternals 2, because Eternals 2 is the one that gives you is giving you more in and around the Celestials. It's the first appearance of Cersei, and people believe that she's the one who's actually going to continue forth as being the more prominent one. There's just going to be really hard for you to continue to have, like, what is there, like 8 of them, like uber superpowered beings running around the MCU, and not have that be like a plot killer. Like, basically they're going to become the ex machina scenario of the MCU, where it's like, well, let's just go get the Eternals because the 8 of them can solve all of our problems. So I doubt all of them are going to survive the movie, and I seriously doubt that anything more than maybe 1 or 2 of them tops will be a continuing regularly called member of the Avengers. And Cersei was the one who was in the greater part of the late 80s, early 90s, who was that character. So with that not being her book, I just don't see that being the one. Shang-Chi, I think, has longer legs. Again, no spoilers here, but we all know, thanks to early fan viewings, how that movie plays out in the post-credit scenes. Shang-Chi will clearly be serving a serious role in the MCU to go forward, and even as a clear member of whatever new Avengers team gets stood up. You're playing to an entire segment of the world that accounts for the largest population of people in all of Earth. So you just got more people who are going to identify with this character long term than a bunch of basically boiled down versions of Superman. So I just feel like Shang-Chi's got the longer legs long term. I feel like most people still just don't even understand what the Eternals are. The Deviants are just like bad CGI monsters that are running around and attacking people out of tall grass. It just doesn't look like it's going to be that stellar of a movie, and a bad movie definitely hurts your return on the investment when it comes to comics. So
I feel like I could lose my Asian card for not picking Shang-Chi. So yeah.
I just, man, I hope both these movies don't suck, dude. I just, we need some good movies, man. Jesus Christ, man. My thing on the Eternals, and don't jump on me if I'm way off here, but they said they can't get involved unless deviants are involved, right?
Yes.
Isn't Thanos a deviant?
Technically, yes, he is in the comics, but we haven't established that he is a deviant and not just.
Well, that's some bullshit, dude.
I mean, yeah,
like
he may just be a Titan as far as the MCU is concerned, and not a deviant.
Oh my God! Like Thanos better come out in that Eternals movie, because they need something like that. Master of Kung Fu, man. I hope we get some other cameos fighting there, because man, just you know, I I don't know, man.
No,
We'll
absolutely.
see. We'll see.
Well,
We'll see. But both these books, man, like for years, now the movies are here. Let's see what happens.
very true. Yeah, I want to say what's up to a lot of people that are joining us. What's going on? Free Energy. How's it going? Heroes Reborn. Rush Die Hard. Comic Man Andy. How's it going? And see who else. Telekinetic Age. Hartman Sports Cards. What's going on? Let us know which books y'all picked by clicking the poll. And it looks like I'm going to go ahead and end it right now. And it looks like 65% chose the special Marvel edition number 15. So, all right. Let's go on to our next set of books. All right, so we have Star Wars: The Clone Wars number 1, CGC 9.6 that sold for $1,300, versus Darth Maul number 2, CGC 9.8, which is the first appearance of Cad Bane, and I believe it's a 1 in 25, if I'm not mistaken. So let's go with red for Ahsoka and blue for Darth Maul. Hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, a unanimous decision. I'll play devil's advocate on this one. So I don't care who wants to go up.
I think there's a price. The reason I pick Ahsoka is there's a large price discrepancy between 9.8 and 9.6 right now. That 9.6 is due for a correction. Not a huge one, but it is due for one. So I think at 1,300, you're already looking at potentially having a $200-$300 profit here real quick, and we already know what's coming down the road. So I mean, she's coming full force here soon, and yeah, I don't know, man. That book's a sleeping giant. I mean, you got to love the 1 in 25 aspect of the Darth Maul and the fact that it's a 9.8. You got to, but I don't know. There's something about Ahsoka. Everyone loves Ahsoka, right? Anybody who knows who she is loves Ahsoka. So
Right.
that's where I'd put my hat.
A lot,
I mean,
a lot of people grew up with Ahsoka, man. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, everyone on this panel chose Ahsoka first. Like, and it's hard to like go against a Jedi, right? And especially like with this book, I mean, a 9.8 last year was only $1,000. So like we're already seeing a 9.6, like hitting to the $1,300 point, which is to me that's kind of crazy. I mean that 1 in 25 Darth Maul 2, I want to say not even like what 6 months ago that was probably about like a $500 book to $750, somewhere in that range, right? At a 9.8.
Yeah.
And then as we get more and more news about like we're gonna get Cad Bane and this or that, like it, this book has been creeping up in price, and we're getting to that point where we're gonna see Cad Bane at some point in time. But I mean, I think once that hits, like it's gonna just keep on going. I mean, I guess we did see Cad Bane in what was it? Bad Batch. He had like 2 episodes that he was in, but I mean, that's always been a fan favorite, always. So
It's like comparing Luke Skywalker to Lando.
Yeah.
So I'll go with Luke.
Yeah, that's the same analogy I was going to come with. It's like, as a kid who grew up during the age of Power Rangers, it was like, man, I really want the Red Ranger. And then you get to the store, it's like, well, we're out a lot of Red Rangers, but we got Goldar. It's like, I'm sorry, but nah. It's like this isn't even a fair comparison. You're talking like a show leader and then everybody's third favorite bounty hunter. Like it's just like, let's be real about it. Like this character just long term, it's like I think it'll be forgotten, or it's like okay, it'll settle, but I don't think you're going to be realizing much more value than where you're at currently. Whereas that Ahsoka book is going to turn into much like any other thing that has happened in recent history, where it's like, oh, it's a $1,300 9.6 now. Oh, it's a $2,600 9.6 in the same vein as a ASM 300 9.6, and then the 9.8 is out the building. So
I think a big thing to remember too is like Ahsoka's on the cover of that book, and Cad Bane is not on the cover of this one, and that does matter to some people.
Yeah, because
it really does.
Yeah, his first cover appearance isn't until what, issue 3, and then even then he's not the focal point on that. Like he's in the corner, like the top right corner. And then also with Clone Wars 1, you have another first appearance in it too. You have Captain Rex.
Yeah,
that's a good point too. Yeah,
I mean, I read the library edition that I had, and like he's technically not even named in that, but he's in multiple panels and progresses the story a lot. So it's hard to deny that it's not him.
I think people are, and rightfully so, people get a little snobbish when they've got first appearance and it's a 9.8, and they think that trumps a first appearance of a legacy character like Ahsoka, and it doesn't. I mean, like, and how can I explain this? If you had Amazing Fantasy 15 in a 7.0, don't try and tell me that Black Widow 9.8 it trumps that. Ain't no way. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm at with this. And it's a 9.6. This book is so hard to find in a high grade. This came out in 2008. I mean, they're all beat to shit. It's a black border. I mean, it's tough to press. And then this one, it came out in 2017. I mean, hell, you might be able to find these in Walmart packs.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point actually that people typically don't speak to. Honestly, is that 2008 time period? Like we were only starting to get our legs back under us again from a like comic book market perspective. Like stuff was underprinted because a lot of like retailers, Diamond had learned their lesson about the mid to late 90s where they had their initial crash and they couldn't give books away basically. running, campaigns like, this book is available for a quarter type stuff in the early 2000s. So like they were only starting to recover at that point, thanks to like some of the stuff that was happening over in Marvel at that time with, the whole Ultimates line and things like that. So a lot of these books are really underprinted from that time period. And we still weren't really taking care of books well like that, because we still were out. Like so many people got burned during the 90s that whole collector's mindset had gone to waste as well. And people weren't really like taking good care of their books. People were reading their books. So finding good high grade copies of, books from that time period is kind of difficult. And again, Red Hood, very valid point. 2017, like we were comfortably back into the point where everything is spec game. So the second these came off the shelf, people were sliding them in bags and boards and putting them away at if you could get multiples of them, you definitely weren't buying one to read and one to keep. You were buying one to keep of every single copy you could find. So,
ooh, I like this point Dick Stallion makes. He says, I might take them all. There are like 50 9.8s in the mall number 2, and I believe there are like 400 Clone Wars in a 9.8. Not to mention all the 9.6s.
I would argue that the demand for Clone Wars is more than 8 times greater than what Darth Maul 2 is.
Yeah, I mean,
supply versus demand, it still would shine towards Clone Wars 1.
Yeah.
Like I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and like if I'm at a show or at a comic shop, and these two are on the wall, I'm asking how much is that 9.6. I don't give a shit about Cad Bane, man. Yeah, he came out in 2 episodes of the Bad Batch. You got Ahsoka; she's going to have a whole show. Is there going to be a Cad Bane show? Now that's a different story. If there's a Cad Bane show, on Disney, like, yeah, like there's only 50, but like, I'm not looking for one.
Yeah, Cad Bane ain't Boba Fett.
I invest, and like Cad Bane, maybe to somebody it's an investment. Like that Ahsoka, that's liquid. That's liquid. That's not going down. That's not going down in price. So,
yeah, I'll say this to finish it off, I guess, so we can move on. Is that I recently had the opportunity to, I think, trade or trying to work out a trade on a book, my Avengers 8.0 for somebody else's books. And one of the books that they had, they were like, oh, check out my eBay store and tell me what you're interested in. And I saw that Star Wars, Clone Wars in a 9.8. I was like, yeah, let me get that in some cash. I'll take that book. I'll gladly give you an Avengers 8 and an 8.0 for this book plus some cash.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, had it been like this dark, like I would have passed over this Cad Bane book in a heartbeat and been like, what is that? Like, no, I don't even care about that. Give me that 9.8 or that 9.6 of that Clone Wars.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what we have next. All right, this is from Sampson. We have an Avengers number 8. That's funny that we were just talking about that. CGC 6.0. That's signed by Stan Lee. That sold for $3,000 versus a raw copy of Fantastic Four number 5 that sold for $3,350. All right, hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. Oh man, all these unanimous decisions all the time. All right, I'll set up the poll, but does anyone want to play devil's advocate against Joe?
I mean, I can, but I don't want to.
Bring it, baby.
All right.
I'll
set up the poll while you're doing that. Yeah. So go ahead, Joe.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So, like, Fantastic Four number 5, that's like on my want list. Like first appearance of Doctor Doom. Man, I tell you, who knows when he's going to come, but like, dude, like, hopefully they get a great actor to play this guy, man. But that book is so like in demand right now, and I know Kang and everything going on with Kang. Everybody's Kang this, Kang that, trying to find a cool cover, and and I know the old man signed it, and that's great, But Fantastic Four number 5 has always been like that one that I want, and it's just, it's Doctor Doom, man. I mean, like, what else can you say?
That's all you gotta say.
Yeah, like I would like to know what the condition of that book. It says pre-owned. I think most of the comics are pre-owned, aren't they? Like, are there any
are they like
homeless
new?
comics? Are there any homeless comics never owned by anybody?
I mean, unless it's a 0.5, it's still going to come out to be worth more than that 6.0 after it's graded.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
Even a restored copy, I'm pretty sure is going to come back to be worth more than that 6.0.
Man, like 3,300. Just looking at the pics, man, it seems like somebody got a hell of a deal, man.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I could not find any graded copies to compare it to because they were, way out of the ballpark.
It's a ghost book. Like, I don't even think copies have really been moving lately as far as like graded copies. Like, everybody's just like sitting on them waiting for Doom to show up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be selling one right now. No way.
Fuck no.
So I can't ever pick the Avengers.
I hate you, dude.
I can never pick that Avengers because it's my greatest sob story in collecting involves that book. So never in the history of ever will I. Nope. I'm still sour. A year down the road, I'm still sour about that.
What happened, man?
So it went from a great deal. I had a dude that liked like really weird, rare stuff and like recalled comics. And I had a recalled, it was Sandman 17. They switched some pages around or something. So it was that. And I think like $150. So I traded him that for a 6.5 Avengers 8. And then when they started to go up a little bit, almost a year ago, people started paying more attention to that book. And so it started going up and it was hitting like $850 or $900 for a 6.5. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'll throw it up on eBay and get rid of it. Or maybe it was like $700 or something at that time. I'm like, I'll throw it up on eBay and get rid of it. Because every sale was seeing better and better prices. For whatever reason, mine with 30 something watchers, 24 hours out or 36 hours out, hit like $350. And I'm like, oh, it's got 30 something watchers, right? Like that last hour is going to be nuts. I'm probably going to be looking at like $700 or $800. Nobody bid on it.
Oh, Jesus.
It died at $350 for a 6.5. And so every time I see that pop up on lists and they're like, oh yeah, a 5.0 sold for $2,000 this weekend. I'm like, it just kills me. It guts me.
Yeah.
And I want that book back. Like I legitimately do. After Loki, I want that book back, but I'll never buy one.
I mean, we can have a conversation, man. I got you.
No, I don't want it. I don't want it. Every time I look at it, I'll be like, and I had one for basically $200 at one point, so it would make me sad.
Yeah, and I feel you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So
Doom is just such a killer spec, anyways. Like I don't know how you'd put Kang up against Doom, right?
Well, a lot of it, like if he transcends that, I mean, if he's an amazing actor, right? So like if he like transcends that character and it becomes more than that, right? And then they put in some like shitty actor to play Dr. Doom. Like you could see where the actor elevates that book to a higher level than that, but that would be the only way.
Yeah.
Right. If they got an actor and he's just fucking terrible, right? That would make that FF go down.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's a very valid point. Is that I've constantly had this conversation with people who are very down on Kang as a character, and they're like, "Well, what stories does he have?" I was like, to be absolutely honest, he doesn't have a whole lot. Like Kang, like when they're doing the Thanos versus Kang comparison, it's like, no, Thanos definitely had better stories, but what will ultimately carry Kang forward is the actor who's attached to play him is just a powerhouse of an actor. And what we are ultimately probably going to see out of him is just going to quite possibly make people really care about Kang in a way that like the stories just, I think in the comics just won't do it for him per se.
My biggest issue with that theory and logic on actors and stuff is yeah, I do believe that to some degree, but like first appearance of Thanos in a higher grade than that goes for less than half that. You know what I mean? And two of the best MCU movie, arguably the best MCU movies that have come out, phenomenally acted. Now, granted, all CGC, but still, I mean, that character was one of the best bad guys that's ever been made in any movie.
Absolutely.
And that book has not held value. And it's not even just his first appearance. It's the first appearance of Drax, you know, and like 3 other characters. And that book still isn't hitting what that first King at a 6.0 is hitting.
Well, I mean, let's be real about it.
Long-term wise, like that's scary though. You know,
nobody cared about Drax prior to Guardians, and none of them Guardians books really took off. Like Nebula, not worth anything. Like Rocket, really not worth anything. First appearance of Groot, not really worth anything. Like I hate to say it, but Guardians was just like, if you banked on the Guardians, man, like you picked the one MCU property that wasn't gonna make you any money.
See,
like,
that's how you know the movies are playing such a big role in the way the market moves, because they fucking killed Thanos. They fucking killed him.
Yeah.
So you know what they did? They killed the value of the book.
Yeah, true.
Right? If they would have left him alive, well, that book would still be going up.
And also, well,
you know?
another argument I have about like what happened with Thanos is that he was the first time that had happened, and people still had that mentality of you don't bank on villains. And let's be real about it. Like, yeah, he had 2 of the greatest movies, but how much time was in between Thanos being full-fledged Thanos in a movie to Thanos being dead in a movie? We had 2 films, because every other appearance, like if you take the total amount of time that Thanos is on screen across the entire time that he was in the MCU prior to last week's episode of What If, it accounts for maybe 45 minutes of actual screen time. It's a bunch of post-credit scenes, him floating in his chair, like him being this like big imposing figure, but people had to get up to speed on who the hell he even was. And again, our books don't sell to comic book people when they start making these astronomical values. They sell to the common man. And the common man's not going to buy what they don't understand and what doesn't resonate with them. And by the time that had already happened, he was dead. This Kang thing's a different story, because we're going to have a couple, if not over the course of the next 2 years until we get Quantumanium, Kang's probably going to be like a version of Kang, a variant of some sort, will be dropped into multiple properties. They're going to see that character enough that it's like you're going to see him in at least probably 6 or 7 properties by the time we get to Quantumanium. So he's just going to be a thing at that point. So it makes sense. Also, that Thanos book, Iron Man 55, is a Bronze Age book. The print run, much like what was happening with Hulk 181, are astronomical. There's a crap ton of those books out there. If you look at the CGC census, most of the grades for that book exist at 6.0 and actually 7.0 and higher. If you look at the census for Avengers 8, which is a early Silver Age book, most of their books exist in the center run at like a 4.0 to like maybe a 6.5 or a 7. So when you start getting into the 8s, the 9s, God forbid, like a 9.2, 9.4 type scenario, you basically are, writing your own, you're basically, asking whatever you want to ask for it, which is the reason why I even bought this to begin with. Because I was like, well, yeah, it's going to cost me to get it, but like, go find you another one. Whereas you can go find you another Iron Man 55 in a 9.2, 9.4, 9.6. And it's out there. It's available to you. So that's where I think the difference lies when you make those Thanos comparisons versus a Kang, is that you're dealing with Silver Age versus Bronze. You're dealing with higher print runs. You're dealing with a character who was killed off in his prime. And before people could really realize value on him, he was already gone. And you have a character that they're seeding across multiple stories, and people are banking on the long game. So even if he's dead in by Quantumanium don't drop until 2023. So you still got another good 2 years to make money off of Kang and cash out.
Yeah.
So, but again, this is more of a Kang versus Doom scenario. And if we're making that comparison, I will take the character who is, does have the stories and also has the potential for the screen presence any day of the week over the character who just is missing the stories and only is potentially going to have the screen presence. Like, I just don't see them killing off Doom. Also, I think they've learned their lesson. Like, they learned that killing off, again, we always talk about that Marvel has a third act problem and Marvel has a villain problem, or historically had a villain problem. They kill them off and they don't know what to do in the third act. There's always some big, huge, fight with some beam from the sky does something. It's like when they started figuring out how to take these characters and make them resonate with you, make you go, maybe they're not wrong, is when they really started solving their character problem. And I think Doom is one of those characters where you really look at him and you go, well, he might not be wrong in whatever scenario you put him in. Is that, yeah, Reed Richards is a good guy, but he also kind of sucks too. And I can see Doom's point of wanting to just like kick dirt in his face any opportunity he gets, depending on how they play Reed Richards.
All right. Sorry about that. I had to take care of something for work, but it's like you had me covered. So let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. All right. So we have Image Comics Invincible #1 CGC 9.8 that sold for $4,307 versus a Saga #1 retailer incentive that sold for $4,000. One thing I do want to mention, when I was looking at the Saga 1, I saw a very similar picture that was listed like a week before that also only had one bid for $4,000. So I'm not sure if it was the exact same book just listed twice and then the person decided to take it off the market and cancel it. I don't know. So I didn't dig into the confirmation of the sale that deep. So I just want to make that transparent before everyone jumps on the gun like that didn't sell, or that's what I found. So, all right, but hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, this is gonna
I
be
want this one. I want this one.
All right, yeah, go for it, Chris. While I set it up, and then I'm gonna go with James. We'll just alternate.
All right, so I'll pop it off. First things first, you picked a real interesting copy of Invincible 1 to put up. Look who the seller is.
Yeah,
anybody's paying attention to the market. Who's to say that wasn't actually like a $3,000 book and somebody might have added some extra bids to it? So, that's neither here nor there. We say this in jest, but realistically, though, PWCC has got caught into, like, just Google them and, like, what their current situation is on eBay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. So, needs to say, though, Invincible 1, great book. But Saga is one of those stories and one of those books that if they never end up ever doing anything with it in like the film or television world, it will always be one of those like touted as one of the top 10 comic books of all time by most people's standards. And though Invincible is strong, I don't see people saying that about Invincible. It's just Invincible was good, but Saga was just on a whole nother level. So you're talking about a property that like was even by the creators was said that we tried to create something that could never be turned into a film because it's just too epic. That couldn't be turned into a movie because it's just too epic. And they are honestly right. Like people are fiending for them to come back and finish that story. And Invincible, yeah, it's got a great like animated series behind it. I'm not sure if we'll ever see Invincible in live action. If it stays in the hands of the powers that currently have it, whether it be at Amazon or it switches over to Netflix. We've seen what happened with other like superhero, type things in the Netflix's hands with the likes of Jupiter Ascending. I mean, we may get a boys scenario on our hands if Amazon holds on to it and does live action with Invincible. But also, like, how well are the boys books selling? Let's be real about it too.
Yeah.
Again, Saga's just on a different level. Like Saga is one of those stories that if you got a copy of it or you got the trades, that if you want to get people into comics, you pull out Saga. Like my girlfriend hadn't read comics in like 10 years. And the first thing I bought her was the entire compendium of Saga. And she's like, this is amazing. Like this made her want to get into comics and read comics again. And Invincible just ain't going to do that for you. Like Invincible is not one of those storylines you can just hand to somebody and be like, look at how awesome of a story this is. Like in the same way that like reading like the Killing Joke is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it may never be like the highest selling book, but that is an example of great storytelling in the comic book medium. And Saga #1 is that. And then this is the retailer incentive, which is super rare and exclusive to get your hands on. So yeah, this is kind of a no-brainer for me. I'm taking that Saga all day.
I know that Saga retailer incentive is a ghost because people that love that story, they're not letting that book go. I get that. But like you said, the creators specifically went out of their way to create something that could not be turned into a TV show, could not be turned into a movie. Invincible's been turned into a successful TV show and potentially has a live action movie coming. Like that's been the word for a couple months now. So I agree with everything you said. I think if you're solely going on the merits of the book, Saga 1 I would even say Saga 1, the regular one, probably has more merit than Invincible does. But I think at this time, with what we currently know and have on our table, I think Invincible 1 has a lot more of a future to it. Because I think just like Saga, more and more people are actually getting into it. And these ones are getting snagged up. Raws are getting snagged up. 9.8s are now, granted, more 9.8s are coming to the table. More people are grading their copies. So there's definitely going to be more of an influx of 9.8s, and what that does, if that overshadows demand, then yeah. But I just don't see it going that way. I think the TV series got so many people interested in Invincible that it's got a very large fan base that it didn't used to have, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So I really don't. Really don't. But that's where I'm at with it.
Either book, I don't like. If you're investing, I don't think you can lose on either one of these books. Like for me, I would go after Invincible only because they're going to have a season 2 and a season 3, and I was reading that because season 1 was so successful, they were going to use that as a template to develop live action. Now, live action, it all depends on, what actors are up for it. I mean, they had some great actors for Jupiter's Legacy, and you saw what happened there.
True.
So a lot of it is like when it's your time to come out with live action, you better do it very quickly, because you look at Jupiter's Legacy and they missed their opportunity to strike when they had the chance. I mean, that Jupiter's Legacy should have come out like 2 years ago. But Invincible, if people are talking about it and everything, you better start casting, and get out in front of it, because people will forget about it.
Yeah. So I will say this, not to cut off Aaron, but I will say this about Saga versus So if we're talking about quick realization of money, if you were able to get in on the Invincible, the thing is, I question at 4,300 that you're going to be able to realize much more value. I could see it hitting a $5,000 book if they start talking live action. If live action ain't good, then it's creeping back down again. Now, on the flip side of that, investing in this Saga 1 at 4,000, with it being so ghost, God forbid they do, even if it doesn't ever get off the ground, it turns into Lock and Key for the 15 years that was in development limbo. But I definitely feel like if somebody came out tomorrow and be like, we option Saga, this book becomes an $8,000 book or a $10,000 book. This is going to be rivaling that Ultimate Fallout for Deshevich or whatever, however you pronounce it.
The 1 in 25.
It's going to be rivaling that, because that book showed up in 5 and below packs, and I know people who have short boxes full of that one. I know maybe one person who's even seen this book in reality, and that's because they were at the RRP event but weren't allowed in the actual to attend. They were at Comics Pro or whatever, but weren't allowed into the RRP event because they weren't a image whatever person. So,
well, the one thing that scares me about Invincible is that the price fluctuated so high so fast. So to me, this is the peak price at the current market. I mean, I could be wrong that it can keep on going up, but I think for Saga, all it needs to take to launch off again in price is this hearing that the story is going to start back up again.
Yeah,
I think that will seriously, just the news of that, I think people will get more excited about, oh, Saga is actually coming back. It is going to be on FOC, whatever. I mean, I think that at the bare minimum to raise the price of that book or interest into Saga, that's all it'll take.
Yeah, so one last thing about this Saga retail incentive is that it has basically gone up $500 to $1,000 every single year since 2019. So,
how many copies do you have left, Dennis? of your facsimile that's coming out virgin? I might as well plug it at this point. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, I need a couple of more, Dennis.
Yeah, so like I'm putting this like honestly like it may be a little like like hot take-ish, but this retail incentive might be like a blue chip book at this point, like a book that gains $1,000 with no mentioning of anything coming whatsoever has increased in value $1,000. I'm looking at GPA right now. Every single year that it's been out, and it's not like there's like one-off selling. It's like 9 sold in 2019, 9 sold in 2020, 8 sold in over the last 12-month average, 3 sold in the last month. Like the book's picking up $1,000 every single time on average. So like that's a blue chip book in my argument. I mean, in my book, that's a blue chip all day, and that's just a book that you buy if you can get in at $4,000. And 10 years from now, if nothing happens to it, somebody's gonna pay you 10 G's for it.
So like you're comparing two different things, right? And like I said, I mean, you can't go wrong with either one of his books, but the Saga is more of a unicorn. Like people like having unicorns and rare things, and that showstopper. Hey, look at my pickup, and they're all like, "Damn!" Like because you can't find it; it's a ghost. Yeah. And Invincible is one of those things where it's the latest and trendy thing. It just had a cartoon that was pretty good, and but like in my opinion, it's like two different animals, man. You got like a unicorn versus just a modern pariah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. So we have Avengers #1 CGC 7.0 that sold for $15,500 versus an XMen #1 that sold for CGC 5.0 that sold for $16,475. All right, hold up your signs in 3, 2.
Hold on.
Okay,
let me.
It's going to be unanimous. It's going to be unanimous. Let's be real about it.
Is it?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be unanimous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but for the camera, let's go ahead and hold up our signs in 3, 2, 1.
What?
Unanimous.
Ooh, see, it wasn't unanimous.
Okay, I want to hear this. I want to hear what James got to say on this one.
All right, so I'll set up the poll and then go for it.
I'm petty. I have never ever in the history of ever liked the X-Men or see what anybody liked in the X-Men.
He's a hater.
I don't get it. I don't get it one bit. The only good thing about the X-Men is Wolverine, and that's it. And the Avengers are the Avengers, and they're here to stay. And yeah, I mean that's my only argument to it is personal preference. You know what I mean? And the fact it's a 7.0. I mean that's it. Beyond that, I see the value in both of these books, and I think X-Men's going to keep going crazy. I also think Avengers 1's going to keep going crazy. I mean, both of these books are, just like Saga. Year after year after year, these books keep going up and up and up and up. So yeah, there's merit in both of these. But I mean, honestly, man, if me personally, if I was picking Avengers, because I have no connection to the X-Men, I grew up reading them, didn't really enjoy it.
Oh shit! Oh, sorry, excuse my language. I just realized something about this book. So this recently came up. That book's actually a restored 5.0.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it because of the
It
label?
was the custom label Snapple. Yeah.
And then on the back they put all the restoration notes on it, and then
it's on the front, but nobody's paying attention because it's a blue label that says Universal. But you see all that shit up under X-Men. It's like trimmed on all 3 sides. Like it's got this is a Frankenstein of a 5.0, and it still pulled 16 Gs. Like I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this is low for a 5.0 at 16. Like a 5.0 should have been like a $30,000 book.
Yeah.
As Mel would say, it looks like there's some fuckery afoot. So.
No, absolutely. So yeah, like now with it being a restored 5.0, I probably am going to take the 7.0 Avengers 1. So there we go. Like I'm going to flip because I know that book's restored. Now let's say we were talking apples to apples, a comparable like Avengers 1. Well, shit. if we're talking 15 for, you're talking to get that same book in a non-restored X-Men 1, you're talking a maybe a 4.5, or because what happens is that you get like anything below a 5.0 is like less than 4.5 is like a $20,000 book. So yeah, you got to get down to like the 2.5s and the 3.0s maybe to see like 16. So yeah, when you're comparing a 3.0 to a 7.0, I'm definitely taking the 7.0 just for sheer rarity value of the Avengers 1. And I've had upwards of, at one point I had 5 X-Men 1s. I've currently got 3, a 5.5, a 6.0, and a 6.5. I got rid of anything below a 5.5 because those are the most common grade segments of the census. And as Nico's always saying, if you're going to try and get a book, try and get the best example of it that you can, because when you're fighting with everybody who's got like comparable grades, then people are going to undercut you left and right. So yeah, I'm definitely going to take the better example in the Avengers 1 because of that. So yeah, I'm flipping sides because of that reason. So.
Well, I was just going to say, like, when Stan Lee created the X-Men, it was right in the teeth of the civil rights movement, and the X-Men were like, he was looking at that as like,
Martin versus Malcolm.
Sure. So like that kind of, maybe they thought, when it was just going to be a few issues and it wasn't going to take off, but it resonated with a lot of people. And I think Avengers was more a play on like, let's have some fun. But I think they try to get a little more serious with X-Men. Like this early run of X-Men, yeah, it's not that, it's not that good,
No, stories are terrible.
Right.
Well, that's why they had to repeat it, and then and then Claremont had to save the run. So
he did, yeah. So like, you can't really, man. You can't. I mean, they both came out at the same time, but you can't compare either one of these, man. I mean, it's just so hard. You've got X-Men fans that just got to have X-Men, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's almost going to be like the kids today that just love Miles Morales and them trying to get a first appearance of Peter Parker. I mean, maybe Peter doesn't do it for them. It's just always their Spider-Man is Miles Morales.
No. So you do bring up a valid point, is that, yeah, I'm poo-pooing on the restored copy, but I absolutely know an X-Men super fan who would be more than happy to have any copy of an X-Men 1.
Sure.
Like I sold him his X-Men 2. Like, and that's the lowest numbered X-Men copy that he has in his collection. But he has every X book. And like my local LCS back in Atlanta, shout outs to Infinite Realities if you guys are watching. They will do their quarter bin blowouts and stuff like that. And that dude is picking every single X book that he can get his hands on. So yeah, there are just those X-Men faithful out there who aren't going to care that it's restored. And if you give them an opportunity to buy one, they're going to buy it. Whereas the Avengers, as like this team, has had his day in the sun. And this is a great piece of history, a comic history to hold on to. But if we're talking about realizing any type of return on the investment, I don't see this book going any higher. Whereas the X-Men 1, you will find somebody when this finally does make its way to the MCU that will probably give you $20K for a 5.0. I mean, what are Amazing Fantasy 15s going for in restored 5.0? Like, people are still making good money off of those books. And yes, Spider-Man and the X-Men are not the same, but to some people they are. And they care about the X-Men the same way that people care about Spider-Man. And somebody will probably give you $20K if you got this book when the X-Men make their way to the MCU. So for me, I'm picking the 7.0 from what I would prefer to have in my collection. If I'm trying to make money, I'm going with the X-Men 1. So that's where I stand on those two books.
All I know is I wish I could go back to 1963 and grab a stack of X-Men 1s and Avengers 1s and put them in like something that wouldn't deteriorate over time and go dig it out right now.
I mean, if I had any common sense, man, I would have just bought some of these in the like early 2000s, because like before the MCU popped off, like and when the X-Men were on their like downslope, or even when the first movie came out, like I remember looking at Wizard when I was in middle school, because that was right before, or that was right when, just to date myself, that was right when the first X-Men Fox movie dropped, and you could get a Hulk 181 for $525 in high grade. X-Men ones were, definitely more, but you still weren't breaking the bank, and to get you an X-Men one. I mean, you were probably under $1,000 for a raw copy of X-Men 1 that would have graded out to a 5.0. But realistically, back then, like if I just had the presence of mind to invest in comics when the market was making this downslip, I would be, again, if shoulda, coulda, woulda, we're all in that boat. But yeah, if I had the presence of mind to invest in comics in the late 90s, early 2000s, I would be a millionaire. So.
Yeah, and then if you did have that time machine, all it would take was also just like a roll of hoarders to get like a big pile like that. So
yeah.
Alrighty, but you got to make sure you have the right year on it.
Right.
All right, let's see what we have next. All right, so we have a copy of TMNT #1 CGC signature series by Eastman, second printing, that sold for $7,000. Versus the Malibu Sun #13 CGC 9.8 that sold for $7,000. You may be thinking, hey, this is probably the error version. As you can see, I clicked on the link, looked at all the pictures. It is the normal version that sold for $7,000.
Wow.
So it's not the error. All right, let me end the poll real quick from the last one. We have 77% of people chose the X-Men 1, but let's hold up our signs in 3, 2, 1. Oh man, it's getting really interesting now with the panel. All right, let's go with Joe and James while I set up the poll.
Aaron just doesn't want to argue with anybody tonight.
I know, dude.
It's because I'm trying to multitask all the time. I mean, okay, yeah, I'll argue. So,
No, man, you had your chance.
all right, I'll second. Just joking, because we're all seconding, right?
I would go with that Malibu Sun, and I'd send it in and go get Todd to sign it and make it 10 grand, dude. Like, like that Malibu Sun. I mean, they're tough to find in high grade, man. Like 9.8. I mean, second, and it's a first print. So like second print Turtles, like, yeah, I get it. It's signed and everything, but man, Spawn is they're coming out with more books now, and they're just kind of revolutionizing the title. There's a movie pending, so yeah, and I kind of always wanted that one, so, but that's just me personally. I think if you could level up if you got it autographed in the same way that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is autographed, what would it go for, Aaron, if it was is there any autographs online?
Oh, for eBay? the Malibu Sun autographed?
Yeah.
Give me a second. I'll look at GPA real fast.
Okay, and I'll look on eBay to see if there's any that sold recently.
Oh shit! Let's see. Malibu Sun.
I wonder if it's a legit sale too. That seems kind of high, dude.
Oh, the 7K?
No, the $6.99.
Yeah, that's real high. Like the last sale that's been recorded as of August is 3,200 for that Malibu Sun.
Yeah.
The 9-day average is 3,175. Yeah, there might be a little bit of fuckery afoot.
Fuckery afoot.
If it was signed 9.8 by Todd, the last one that sold was November, and that was 2,650. So it's actually behind what the 9.8 is going for.
Well, okay. Yeah, I need some honest books put up here, Aaron.
Well, it says or best offer, and like it has gotten a lot more difficult to figure out what those best offers actually have been lately.
I mean, what would you pay? What would you guys pay for that Malibu Sun in a 9.8?
Are we talking error edition? Or are we talking normal?
They're just a normal one.
I'd probably be about $3,000. Yeah, I'd probably be trying to negotiate down a little bit under 3.
I would hold out to find an error, and I'd probably cap out probably at 3K.
Yeah, because I mean the last error that sold was in June at there hadn't even been a 9.8 sale of an error ever to that matter. So it looks like the highest rate was a 9.6 at 4,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, even still, like, okay, like equal being equal. So, you know, just for the sake of conversation, I'm still going to Malibu Sun because, like, once you get into the second printing of the Turtles books, like, them Turtle books aren't hard to find. Like, they really aren't that hard to find. Like, I mean, they're expensive, but they're not Ghost anymore. Like, people know what they're looking for when they go out there, and like they will go and find a Turtles book. Like they exist. They were printed. Like this is what Mirage Comics had going for it at the time, and nothing else. So yeah, those Turtle books are still very prevalent. Eastman, much like a Stan Lee during his life, will sign anything. Getting his signature isn't a hard thing to like accomplish.
One thing I will say is I don't like the signature placement on this Turtles book.
Oh no, it's terrible. Like he could give two shits about making sure it was pretty. Like he always just like scribbles over the artwork, honestly. Because in most of that Laird's artwork anyway. Like all them early Turtle books was Laird's artwork and not Eastman's.
From the panel I saw, they said they created the Turtles together, and the first one that was created was Raphael. That's the story coming from Eastman. I've never seen Laird at a convention or on a panel, so I'm not sure.
And you won't, because Laird basically has said that was cool for a time in my life, but I moved on. So he's like,
Secluse. Yeah.
He's like, Turtles is behind me. Like that was cool, but I don't want to be defined by the Turtles. And Eastman's like, I'm leaning the hell in. Like this is what I did, and I'm gonna ride this horse straight into hell. So
and he bought a tank with that money.
Yeah, true. So again, like I feel like the Turtles have come up recently on another show, on another episode that I was on, and I just feel like the Turtles Day in the Sun has kind of been had. Like I'm a 90s kid, so both of these books really resonate with me. Like Spawn was the first adult comic that I had ever read, and Turtles, I was an absolute Turtles fanatic kid, had the sheets in my bed, had the toys, watched all the movies. Like I was about that Turtles life. But I don't see Turtles. They keep trying to reinvent the Turtles to resonate with a new generation. And let's be real about it. The ones of us who are buying these IDW books are people my age. Like most kids it's just not landing the mark, and like it's not that book anymore for a generation. And though Spawn isn't necessarily either, but I think people are less over Spawn. Like like McFarlane will always show up and like whenever he's trying to hawk a new like Spawn related thing, oh man, we're making progress on the movie. Like, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, let me go out and buy Spawn. But if it does happen, there'll be new life renewed in Spawn. They are actively working on a new Turtle script, and nobody cares. Like that new announcement came out like what was that 2 weeks ago? That Colin Jost, Scarlett Johansson's husband, is writing the script for the new Turtles movie, and nobody cares because we are just over the Turtles. Like, I mean, Paul will probably be really pissed to hear me say this, but like unless you are a Turtle super fan, nobody's like calling home about the Turtles no more. Like it ain't a thing. So I'm taking the Malibu Sun, and just because I think it's a better long-term play, realistically.
Turtles will always be around, and no. Okay, so anyways, I don't know. I know what Malibu Sun is, right? But like, educate me real quick. It wasn't a full Spawn comic, right? Was it like a 6-page story? Was it a 1-page ad? What makes Malibu Sun his first appearance?
I want to say it's a short preview of the Spawn 1 story,
and it predates Spawn 1.
Yeah, and he's also like all over the back of it as well.
But it doesn't predate Rust 1, and that's my problem with that book. Because Rust 1 has a McFarlane Spawn sketch, full page, back page, as an advert for Spawn 1. And where this isn't a story, and Rust wasn't a story, but we're calling this one 10 times the price of Rust 1, I just have a hard time buying that. You know what I mean? Now, granted, the argument still goes with this being a second printing. Turtles is second printing, right? But it's still the full story, and they doubled the print run. It's not small. I think the print run's like 6,000 and some change on the second printing of Turtles. I don't know what it was for Malibu Sun. I tried looking while you guys were talking, and I can't find the information anywhere.
I think Turtles, the second print, wasn't that like 15K?
That's 6,000.
Or was it three? Or was that
print.
third print? That was the 15K.
Yeah. So I don't know. I still think 6,000 is pretty rare. I think a 9.6 on a cover that has that much black is also extremely rare.
That's that's a great point too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
A high grade with an all black cover like that. That's a great point too.
So I don't know. Spawn is definitely here to stay too. Don't get me wrong. I didn't mean anything by that, but I think they both have bigger and better things coming up. Obviously Todd's made it very well known that he's continuing that cinematic universe in a way too, which is cool. But I also think that's what Last Ronin's gonna end up being too. I see it going that route with that. I think original Turtles fans are gonna get their Turtles back that they've wanted, for the last 15, 20 years. And I think when that happens, the second prints and first prints and even the third print, fourth and fifth prints are gonna go nuts. They're already going nuts, but they'll go even crazier. So I don't know. That's just where I land on it. Yeah, like I said, only 9 on census. So
yeah,
that was a big thing for me, was that only 9 on census.
In a 9.6?
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's one thing I will say about the Turtles, again, being the resident, Hollywood Reporter, Vanity Fair, Variety reader dude that's all in like the film and television world pretty to stupid levels. I don't see the Turtles fans ever getting their Turtles property, is because Nickelodeon owns the film and television rights to the Turtles outright. They were so Laird and Eastman, Laird sold his rights to Eastman, and Eastman sold the TV and film rights outright to Nickelodeon after things lapsed at New Line Cinema after the original Turtles movies. So Nickelodeon is never going to make an adult Turtles film because it's fucking Nickelodeon. And that's just that don't sell toys. You can't sell toys with an adult themed Turtles movie, and Nickelodeon ain't in the business of pissing off parents. So I just don't see it happening.
All right.
Does anybody watch Nickelodeon anymore? Like,
if I can't stream it, then I'm not watching it.
Yeah, do they still have that? What was that? Double Dare with the slime?
All their game shows. Yeah, it was Double Dare.
Yeah, it was Double Dare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they were talking about bringing back some of those shows. I think the Temple of Doom or whatever, and all that stuff.
The Hidden Temple.
Temple. Yeah. They were there was talks of bringing back some of those shows back, and Double Dare and all that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I remember the movie when it first came out. My buddy talked me into going with it. Oh man, you got to see the Turtles, and so. The one part that I always remember, and I don't think I'll ever forget, is when they're baby turtles and they go, pizza, pizza. So, yeah.
Oh, that's why in college I was a pizza delivery driver, man. Because, I was expecting to run into some turtles, at some point in time on one of my deliveries. So, never happened, but that's all right.
I just realized I was muted. Hey, Chris, Viacom still own Nickelodeon?
Yes, sir.
And Warner Media still owns Viacom?
Part
of it? I think so. I think they're part of the ownership group.
Yes, possibly.
So they would have to rebrand the Turtles, but it's certainly well within their... I don't know, because you never know what contracts are actually in place, but it makes you wonder, it's not like they couldn't do it. Right, Warner's done plenty of rated R movies. They've done plenty of R-rated action movies. If they're still part of that parent company group, but the problem is you've got 6 owners that would all have to be like, okay, we're gonna jeopardize that toy buying fan base. But
so a little inside baseball, they are not actually. CBS and Viacom are together.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, it's CBS Viacom, which Viacom controls Nickelodeon. I want to say at this current time. So yeah, I just saying I don't see CBS Viacom being willing to reach into that Nickelodeon bag because it's still making them money. Like toys and games are still making Nickelodeon money off of the Turtles because it just for the return on the investment to not be able to like everybody learned their lesson with Batman with the second Batman movie back in 90 or 91 that you don't make things for kids that you can't sell toys against because that's bad for business.
Oh, Batman Returns?
Yep, that pissed off McDonald's, that pissed off Kenner and everybody else because Tim Burton showed up with this dark, twisted nightmare, and they're like, "We can't fucking market this to children. Like, what is this shit?" Like,
the
oh
man,
that's why
Big One was horrible, man.
Yeah, so like if that's the one thing you got going for you, because DVD sales don't exist no more, so you're not making money off of media no more. Streaming services, like you're getting pennies on the dollar to license stuff out to streaming services so people can watch it. If you got a toy or a franchise that's connected to toys and other media and mediums like that, you don't burn that bridge. Like even with like what the MCU is doing, like there are certain things that are like, okay, well that's going to be for adults, but we're not messing with this toy money. Like that's just dumb business practices on their part. So,
all right. So we have 2 sets of books left. Let's go with the next to last one. So we have Amazing Spider-Man number 300 CGC 9.8 that sold for $5,850 versus the Amazing Spider-Man 194 CGC 9.8 that sold for $5,345. All right, hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, let's go with James and Joe, or I can step in place. It's up to you, Joe.
No, I mean, the first Venom is always going to be like, yeah, I mean, it's Venom, but Jesus Christ, that looks so good in 98, the first Black Cat. I mean, you got to look at it. It's older, and I'm like, I'm being a hypocrite because I was talking about the other books, as far as first appearance. Would I want a first appearance of AF-15 in a 7.0 versus character I don't give a shit about, in a 9.8? I think Black Hat, if written properly, I mean, that's in play to, come out, I don't know if Sony does something with it but they definitely had opportunities with who was that actress that was supposed to play her? She came out in Rogue One. What's her name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Felicity something. Her real name's actually Felicity, I think. Let's see.
Oh God. Well, anyway, like I think
Felicity Jones.
Oh, okay. I just man. You know what? I need to think. I need to think about this one, man. I'm tapping out. I can't make up my mind.
Well, that was a quick decision on this one.
Yeah, I know. I got a 9.8 of the Amazing 300. So it's kind of hard. I don't have a 9.8 of the 194. So like that's why I'm looking like, I guess if I told my buddy to go pick one, I'd tell him to pick the 300. I mean, yeah, final answer.
I think 300's it's a blue chip book now.
Yeah.
And it has seen year after year growth. Like we talked about earlier, it's important to see that year after year growth for long-term books. I don't own a 300. I do own a 194, not in a 9.8. In fact, I just got grades back on it today. It's a 9.2.
Yeah, I got a 9.4. I'm kind of pissed.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I thought I pressed mine and resubbed, and I thought I was getting a 9.6 out of it. So I'm curious to see when it comes back. I saw the notes and they hit me for a wavy cover, which I'm curious. I mean, it sat in Florida for a while, so I don't doubt it, but it might be going in again. But anyways,
triple board
I'm not invested in 300. I'm not. I wish I was. It's a book that, you know, it just year after year it just gets more and more out of reach, which is good, right? It's what you want in books if you own one. It's not if you don't own one, but you know, I don't know. It's just, man, Black Cat would have to be a killer movie to come anywhere close to being as important as ASM 300. And even if it is, I would argue that it's not nearly as important as ASM 300 anyways, right? Because Venom has been ingrained in comic culture for what, 30 plus years now, you know? And I bet you ask most people, unless they're Spider-Man readers, until a couple of years ago when they really started putting out more books with Black Cat in it, they wouldn't have known who she was, you know, but everyone's known who Venom is. So, I mean, that can always change, but as of right now, I think ASM 300 hands down.
Yeah, I think the artist too, James, you know, McFarlane, I think that's when everybody thinks McFarlane, they're going to think of that book.
That's the book,
yeah. I will say, so I went with the ASM 300 because of the fact that if we're talking about return on the investment and books that have the potential to continue to grow, like, I don't trust Sony anymore, straight up. And the reason why I don't trust Sony anymore is because of the fact that they're already talking about pushing back Venom to take over Morbius's spot. So who knows when Morbius is going to come out? And the reason this is that Sony doesn't have another outlet other than theaters. It's either theaters or bust for them. Whereas the MCU is like, well, we can always put it on Disney Plus. We may not make all the money, but we'll get something out of it. Whereas Sony's like, yo, if we shut down again, like, and we drop a movie, we're SOL. Like, we'll be out here looking like Tenet. So with that logic, I can't trust something that's 100% a Sony that is relying on Sony to be successful. Whereas, who knows what deal has been concocted with the MCU? Again, we've already seen the trailer or the first teaser trailer. We know they're going into the Sonyverse well with the Raimi movies and the Andrew Garfield films to grab characters and things of that nature. We see him running around in a black suit that may be his integrated suit, and God forbid it could be something black suit related. The symbiotes have the symbiotes are connected to the Necro Sword and the All Black Sword. The Necro Sword was named specifically in What If last week. Like, they had never called Hela's like gear the Necro Sword in the MCU ever until last week. So that's leading back to Gorda the God Butcher. That's leading back to Null. All things symbiote related world around Spider-Man has a good possibility it could have been worked out in a deal to eventually see the light of day in the MCU property. If nothing else, a Spider-Man movie will be released in December and will continue to be released going forward because that's part of the MCU deal. So yeah, I'm backing the character that's at least going to, even if we're not talking about Venom, if we're talking about the black suit, iconic covers, and things that just in the swell that is Spider-Man doing stuff, a rising tide raises all ships. And unfortunately, Black Cat is not wearing the right equipment to get part of that rising tide. Like, she's not wearing a symbiote. She's not part of the storyline. Nobody really cares. And every other book that's connected to it is getting value bumps because of it. So I'm going with the ASM 300.
So you're saying if Black Cat doesn't wear anything, nobody would be interested?
Well, I would also argue that the one crowd that would care about Black Cat is probably the video game crowd. Like, she played a pretty big role in the first video game.
I mean, true, but like, them people ain't going out and buying books. Like, let's be real about it. Like, I know plenty of people who played that game, love that game to death. There's a reason why like, how many people do you see clamoring about the Gamerverse?
That's true.
But I mean, books.
And then, to me, the thing that, I mean, maybe it's just me because I have really bad luck with ASM 300s. I mean, I'm gonna say that like right up front. My first copy came back restored.
Ooh.
Oh,
And at a 6.5, and it was sold to me as a very fine near mint, and I knew that wasn't true right off the bat, but I had already committed to sending a book to a Stan Lee and Todd McFarlane signing, so I just didn't want to swap it out with a Spider-Man 1 or something like that. Like it was gonna be ASM 300 or bust for me, and so I was like, even if it comes in like mid grade, like I'll be somewhat happy. But when I saw that purple label at the top, like it pissed me off.
Get this away from me.
I mean, I still have it as a reminder, like to closely check books all the time. And then, you know, since I made that mistake, which was pretty costly at the time, you know, but I guess now at this point with the prices being where they are, I can get my money back. But I mean, you know, I did hold on to it for such a long time, and I don't have any other books that are signed by Stan and Todd.
where'd you buy that book, Aaron?
Facebook.
Oh, man.
Facebook group. Yeah. And I told the guy afterwards, like, I was like, because it took like a year to get back. It's not like I can ask for a refund. I was like, hey, by the way, I got the copy I bought from you signed, and it came back restored. Like, I don't expect anything back. And then like the dude definitely looked at the message. So, you know,
Yeah, I would have said I'll be seeing you real soon.
it's not like I still have his like address or anything like that. Or maybe I do. No, I'm just joking. But I mean, to me, I feel like with the 194, it's the direct version. I'm sure it's hard to see on the screen, but there is definitely a slash through the barcode. And then I feel like during that time period, that's when you saw less direct versions than you saw newsstands.
Absolutely.
Why don't you send it back into CGC and have them take off the resto?
I never gotten a clear answer of what the cost is for the. Yeah, I know they'll do that, and then I think
it's $100.
I think it depends on how bad it is, and they take it by a case basis. From my understanding,
what is it? Light color touch? That's what
it's like it's a C1. It's a slight color touch.
Yeah, see, they'll take it off, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, definitely at this point, especially with the price, and I probably still have time before Venom 2 comes out. So
I would have them repress it and take off the restoration, so you may have a chance of getting a 7.0 or 7.5, man.
Yeah, and then there's also always the possibility of having it as a 3X. So with David, I forget his last name, David M. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Michelin. Yeah.
All right. Let's get on to our last set of books. I don't want to keep everyone here for too late tonight. All right. So we have a all new Wolverine number 2, the 1 in 25 version, the first appearance of Gabby, a CGC 9.8, versus a Wolverine number 145, CGC 9.6, the Nabisco variant. All right. Hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1.
God.
Oh, cool.
I'll take a piece of this.
Yeah. All right, Chris. I'll go up against you as I'm setting it, but I'll let you go first while I'm setting up the poll.
All right. So that Wolverine 145 Nabisco variant cover, like that was part of my childhood. Like I remember when this popped off, and unfortunately, I could not collect the required box top. I mean, I guess we weren't eating like, Triscuits like that, but I was not able to collect the necessary items to send off to get this book. Even in a 9.6, like this is a hard 9.6 with all that black. Like it is a hard 9.6. It is a great like Wolverine like cover. Because I want to say that's the Sinkovich cover as well, isn't it? And it's also where Wolverine loses his where Wolverine loses his adamantium, I believe. Blanking on maybe not. But it's one of those like modern day ghosts that we talk about, like one of those books that like you had to jump through some crazy hoops to acquire, and getting it in this grade is very, very difficult to pull off. Now on the flip side of that, you got the first appearance of Gabby. So I'm ex-military, so we have a saying about certain groups of military: you have the man behind the gun. So you're not the dude. You're the dude who supports the dude who supports the people that actually do the thing. And that's Gabby. Like, you're not Wolverine. You're not X-23. You're the character that, like, might see her day in the sun if we're, like, year 20 of the MCU. I mean, it's a nice book to have, and it's a great cover, and it's got a little bit of rarity to it. But, like, how much higher is this book going to go when it's already 900? But, like, you'll be sitting on this book for years before you're able to make $1,200. I reasonably believe that. Like, I think you are capped out at about 9 to maybe 1,000 tops. If you catch the right person on the right day, I don't see you getting more than $1,000 out of this book for at least the next 2 to 3 years to follow. Whereas that Nabisco variant, like, somebody who's a Wolverine completist is going to be like, I ain't got that, and I'm willing to pay you whatever it takes to get it from you. And that's not even going to be a hard group of people to find. Like especially when Wolverine gets his day in the sun in the MCU.
Right. The one thing why I picked the all new Wolverine number 2 was, you know, it is the first appearance of a character, and then you also have this, you know, we've heard all that same arguments too about the Greg Land Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, and even the 1 in 25 for like when those books first start popping off. To me, I feel like this, you know, once like either X-23 or Gabby shows up, I feel like this book will start increasing like that too. I mean, but like you said, it could be years from now. But yeah, still, you know, it's a great cover, especially compared to like the A cover of the all new Wolverine number 2. Like, I think I'd rather have this one versus just the standard A cover. I mean, to me, it was hard to pick between the two. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I've probably almost pulled the trigger on the Wolverine 145 before I've pulled it on the all new Wolverine number 2 before. I mean, you know, just for personal taste. But for me to see increases, like I think the all new Wolverine 2 will gain more traction eventually versus the Wolverine 145. Because, you know, I feel like at a point in time where, like, I don't want to say like that there's like any kind of bubble or anything like that, but we're at like an all-time high in prices of books. And right now, like, you know, a year ago, even the Wolverine 145 was like $1,000.
Yeah.
Versus like the all new Wolverine number 2, that's already gained in price over the last year. Because I want to say that was like, it was probably like half the price last year.
No, you are correct on like that book definitely like climbing in value to get to where it is very quickly. But yeah, I think that the Nabisco book just kind of capped out because of the fact that it's like, I mean, it was a rare book to begin with, but it was a rare book at a time when the market was crashing. So it had to like undo a bad existence, whereas the all new Wolverine number 2 showed up when the market was strong and firm. And this was one of those books that was a modern day, like, oh, you got to have it type of book. Like when the week that dropped, I'm pretty sure CBSI was talking about it and everybody else was on top of it. So it instantly inflated it, and there hadn't been any good reason for it to slip. So it's just going to stay consistently, and anybody who's got a copy isn't going to sell it for cheap. Whereas you have those other books that are like the hot book of the week, and that thing doesn't materialize, or that character doesn't get revisited, and so people kind of, you know, are trying to get out from under it so they don't lose what money, you know, they have into it. So you see, like, you know, people trying to, like, you know, the Robin King and scenarios like that. Not comparing the Gabby scenario to the Robin King, but I think that it just is one of those books that's been under the radar and just has steadily climbed with a character that, let's be real about it, like, have they even mentioned Gabby since they've, like, Hickman has redone the X-Men?
Yes, I think she did show back up in one of the X-Men runs, but I want to say that she the one that died and then couldn't be brought back through the Krakoa rejuvenation thing,
honestly don't even know.
Because like she's like a clone of a clone or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so yeah, Big Remo said it. Yeah, she's dead. So Yeah, she'd be dead. So, anyways, yeah.
I think comics are turning into cards, man. You know, everybody's looking for like rookie cards graded, like first appearances, man. You know, and so like that Sinkovich Nabisco cover might be like an error variant, you know, on a card. I mean, that's the way people are looking at it now. Like, I want to get Venom's rookie. I want to get a Black Cat rookie. You know, that's the way this game is being played right now, man. You know, and it's just like the early appearance, like the predated one. I think I was telling Aaron like that might as well be their minor league card, you know. So I mean that's basically, you know what we need? Like these Walmart packs. We need packs to open up comic books, and we need numbered comics with a big
Stein was talking about
gold number on there, like 1 of 1. Can you imagine, dude? That would take this hobby into like the next galaxy, bro.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for Panini to just start doing that. So,
I mean, let's be real about it. Like this Wolverine. I mean, I just looked at the senses on this Wolverine 145, the Nabisco variant. Like, it might as well be like from a print run perspective, it might as well be a 101. Like, there are 146 copies graded.
Wow, I think I've seen one in person before,
and I've never seen this book in person before,
and it wasn't even a copy for sale. It was someone submitting it to CGC for grading, like at a con. Yeah. It's one of those Melee books. Like, how hard do you think how well do you think Nabisco ships comics? And how well were comics shipped in the 90s? I can tell you from someone that's done Melees before, not very well. It's literally a padded, not even a padded envelope. It was just like an envelope that was the size of a comic, and then they mailed it to you. And then, like, even before my generation, they folded the comics in half, right?
Yeah.
So. Ooh, someone got one a few weeks back. Which one? Nice. Which one, Remo? Which one did Ultra get? Did he get the Nabisco or the all new Wolverine?
So we're waiting for him to answer. If you do want a mystery, you want to open a pack. Hive does mystery boxes, and I'll hand number all of your books if you want me to.
I will write all over them.
I might take you up on a mystery box. I'll take care of you. I might take you up on a mystery box. You don't have to.
Yeah, because your books sell out pretty fast, anyways. Yeah. Like anytime, like any of them to drop, like. Any of your hot, like super hot ones that people like, a lot of people gravitate to, they sell out in like less than 5 minutes.
Like quick. I should have bought the damn quick. Stray dogs from you, man.
Yeah,
when I had the chance. Jesus,
I should have kept some. I didn't even keep one of that. Wow. We almost oversold it. We came so close to overselling it, so I didn't even get to keep one.
What does that go for right now, man?
The Stray Dogs?
Yeah,
I think 9/8 are still over $1,000. And Rozer, like, I think somebody told me the other day, Rozer still chilling at like 400. So
wow,
that's nice. Crazy.
Well, make sure to catch Wonderworld on Whatnot. Nice.
Hey, Dennis, do you have any more Ultimate Fallout 4s?
He said earlier he's got like 140 left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Chris, where can we catch you next?
Wherever you guys want me, as far as like Flipside is concerned. I'm always down to do a show and annoy people with way too much movie and television knowledge.
Well, and then since we have everyone here, I just want to announce that we will be doing the prospect list live tomorrow with our top 15 books. So make sure to tune in. So like and subscribe to the channel.
Hey, bro, Shuri got hurt, bro. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
She's on the disabled list, bro.
I got shot, right? From Boondocks now.
Wow. Nice.
And then James, I think I might be showing up on Drunken Chat this Friday. I don't know yet. Depends on how busy work gets. So
I might be too. My weekend's been super crazy, and will continue to be. We got cons coming up that I got to get prepped for. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. I've got a thing up in Idaho little 1 day vacay that coming this weekend, but I don't think I leave till Saturday. And if that's the case, I'll be on Drunken Chat on Friday for sure.
Cool. And just as a final thought, we were talking about the Avengers 1 earlier, and I just wanted to say, you shouldn't be using comic books to make art, especially if it's already a known expensive book, and to try to make it into like $1 million sculpture or whatever. Like, that was just trash, but that's just my opinion as an art major.